Greetings! This is This, and I am me. And yes, it is finally time. I'm going to tell the tale. A very long tale, possibly two-part tale, of applying for the EPIK program, but then also a little bit more than that. This is not like a tea video, and this is also not any sort of like how-to helpful video. So if you are here as someone that regularly watches my videos, then you maybe know a little bit more what you're in store for in terms of story and attitude that's going to be coming up. If you are here because you're searching about the EPIK program, or well, if you're here searching about the EPIK program, I just want you to know this video does have a lot of the, nuances that go into applying for the EPIK program. So you will get something out of it, but this is in no way telling you the steps you should be taking and how to do those things. It's talking about all the steps, but I'm just saying, if you're just right now looking for information and not entertainment, then just bookmark this one and come back to it later. And if you have been in the EPIK program, maybe you will just enjoy this story because you will kind of know what I'm talking about. Now, like I said, for those of you that maybe are just here because you are a regular viewer and you don't know what the EPIK program is, EPIK stands for English Program in Korea. So, and please, if you have to ask which Korea, I just stop. Get some help. I'm just going to be saying Korea, but it's South Korea, guys. It's South Korea. Okay. So let's just dive right in. I just, there's no point in explaining anymore. I just wanted to make sure that people weren't wasting their time thinking they're going to get information out of this when they're going to be getting entertainment. And I just wanted you guys to know, I should explain the teeniest bit more. So the English program in Korea is a program that you can apply for in order to teach English in Korea through the government. So yes, this is my experience, and it's all just for fun and entertainment here of what happens to me along the way, aka how the world was against me. So a little bit of backstory. I was going to apply. So here's how it works. There are two intake periods. There's a fall and a spring. Okay? And you will either go, if you get a job, you will either go to Korea. It's like 1-year contracts, and then you can choose to renew at the end as long as the school doesn't literally hate you. So it's 1-year contracts, and they start in either in the fall or the spring. Like, there are two specific times that they start, and whichever time they're not starting is when the application period opens. So it's either August or February. I was going to apply in August 2019 for the February 2020 intake. Okay, this is how long ago this journey started. Now, instead of doing that, it was sort of like, wait, okay, don't apply for the one that's opening up right now. Wait until the next intake. So I'm like, okay. I waited until February 2020, and I applied for the August 2020 intake. So I would be going in August of 2020 if they, accepted my application and everything. So here's where we're starting. February 2020, when the application period opens up for August 2020. Okay. Now, for this application process, you need a bajillion things. If you've done the process before, you're laughing right now because you're like, yeah, yes. a bajillion, okay? So one of the first things that you need just to apply, because there's things that you need to do to apply, and then there are things that you need if they accept your application, and then there are things that you need for a visa. I know it's complicated, but I'm going to try to explain things in the most concise and easy to understand way, just for the context of our story. So one of the first things you need in order to submit your application, which is like multiple pages long. I can't even remember how many pages. I think like 7 or something. I don't know. But you need 2 letters of recommendation. Okay? 2 letters of recommendation that are printed on letterhead with an ink signature. Okay? Very important. And then you need to fill out the entire application, which has a lot of different parts to it, including making a full lesson plan, a sample lesson plan, and submitting that. So I actually, so before application opened in 2020, in February, through March of 2019, I got TEFL certified. So Teach English as Foreign Language, TEFL. I got my certification for that. I took an online course and I got that done because we all know I wanted to apply 6 months earlier than I will be applying right now. So I have that certification already, and so I fill out the application. I've got my sample lesson plan done. That's all good. Now, you also need these 2 letters of recommendation. So I contact 4 possible people for letters of recommendation. I'll get responses back from 3 of them, and basically end up getting my 2 letters of recommendation. And I have the physical copies of them because you need those, but I also have PDF versions. So those can be submitted with the application. But I think I already had my physical copies as well with me. You need physical copies on letterhead, ink signature. Remember that. So one of the letters is kind of like, doesn't really, like, it's kind of on letterhead, but not really letterhead. But I'm just like, I don't know. I told them that it was supposed to be on letterhead, so I'm sure they know what that is, and they did it, and it's fine. So get everything together, submit my application, lesson plan, and 2 letters of recommendation. Then time passes. So remember, it's 6 months between when application period opens and when you would be in Korea starting your job. So a lot of these things take place over time. So like I submit my application immediately when it opens up is when I submit my application. And then it's, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks or something before you get a response. I'm not going to give you all of the dates and tracking of all of the time from this stuff because it would just be too involved. We don't need that. I will be getting into timing and dates when it's more relevant, but right now just know like some time does pass between these things, but that's just the way that this process works. So I get a response about my application. We got your application, we like it, and we'd like to schedule your Skype interview because that's part of the process. And the Skype interviews happen within the workday of Korea. So they happen in the middle of the night if you are, on the other side of the world. So I'm like, okay, yep, I've got my interview time. It's in the middle of the night. Like, I'm already prepared for this. I know it. Good, whatever. Do the interview, yada, yada, yada. It goes perfectly fine. Basically, the only thing that they tell me is that one of your letters of recommendation doesn't seem like it's printed on letterhead. So if you just get that printed on letterhead for when we're moving forward, that's going to be perfectly fine. Just like remember to make that change. No changes with my lesson plan or anything. Absolutely just perfect. because, we know that I've been working on this for a long time, so that makes sense that, I had everything pretty much down because I had already actually gone through the process of filling out the application, but just not submitting it a previous time. So everything's good. Just get that letter fixed. So email up the person that the letter of recommendation is from and say, hey, can you get this on official letterhead of the school? And they're like, sure. It's just that COVID lockdown has just started and I'm not at the school. So I need to get special permission to print this from home. And also I have no ink. So I need to get ink and print it from home. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, actually, I don't think they said that to me. I think they did it and said, like, it's on the way in the mail. And also, like, sorry, there was a delay, but I had to do X, Y, and Z. So, first little speed bump, it's like, okay, it took a little bit of a while for them to get me back that letter, but it's because literally COVID just started and lockdown just started and the school was everything was from home. There was no going on campus, which is crazy if we go back and remember that time at the beginning of COVID. Okay, so moving on. Now that I have sort of passed the interview process, it's time for me to start getting my documents prepared, my other documents. So along with because you're going to need to submit, like I said, a bajillion documents, paper originals of documents, mail them to Korea because the EPIK people will then take those documents, check them all, and show those documents to schools that will potentially want to hire you. So, you need lots of documents, lots of officialness, and then also you need to make copies of all of them, which is a lot. So it's a very thick, mailing document that you're going to be sending out if you get everything. Now, along with the application that is multiple pages and the lesson plan and the 2 letters of recommendation, you also need a copy of your diploma with an apostle on it. This was, for me, thankfully, extremely easy to acquire. You also need sealed transcripts. For me, thankfully, extremely easy to acquire. Copy of TEFL certification. I had a digitally issued certificate, so no problems there. Very easy. Next, you need a copy of your passport that is notarized. That is basically saying that it is an official copy and not something that has been tampered with. We'll get back to that later. Another thing that you're going to need, the last thing you're going to need, is you're going to need to submit a background check. Now, try and remember that this is a process for teaching. So it's in a school, it's with children, and it's also in a foreign country. So that's why there are a lot of different things involved. So you're going to need to have a background check. And the way that you get a background check is you get yourself fingerprinted, you get your fingerprinting done, and you then send those fingerprints off to a company that will do a background check. So my next step, because I've gotten lots of those things already, and we checked them off. So my next step now is that I need to get some fingerprinting done so that I can get a background check. Now the problem is, you remember, this is the start of COVID, and it just so happens that I cannot find a place to fingerprint me. I call up places that are available for fingerprinting, and they say, we're sorry, but fingerprinting is closed to everyone except for medical professionals at the moment. So it was like severe lockdown time. We're talking about March now. And everything is closed. No one is leaving their house for anything except for groceries, and everyone is like wearing gloves and wiping down everything when they get home. You know, it's that sort of time of COVID. So yeah, there's no place for me to get fingerprinting done because they all say, no, we don't care why you want the fingerprinting. Unless you're a medical professional, it's not important right now. So I end up needing to email up the EPIK people, and they're saying they're emailing, everyone in the application pool this whole time about documents and getting your documents and COVID changes and things like that. And, basically I end up having to tell them I cannot get fingerprinted. I will not have my documents in time to send to you, so I need to do what you are offering to people, which is defer to the next intake. So this is February 2020, and I have to, it's either withdraw my application because I won't have my documents in time, or defer to the August 2020 application period, which will move my arrival to February of 2021. Now, also to make it a little bit more clear about the timeline, I would need to be confident that before probably January, the arrival was August, so before July of 2020, I would need to be confident that before July of 2020, I could get fingerprinted, send those to the background check place. The background check place sends me back my background check. Then I send all of those documents that I prepared to Korea. They okay them all and send me back my sample contract, which I then send to the visa people, and then they approve me for my visa. So all of those things would still have to take place between like April, May, and June. And we had no idea when things were going to change, when things were going to open up again, and how long mailing processes were going to take because of COVID. And there's also at least two international, mailing moments there. So I had to defer, which means basically just put everything on the back burner until August 2020, when you previously thought you would be leaving. Now it's like, no, that's when you're just going to start the process again. So, also, it's important to note that the fingerprinting / background check is like the most time sensitive thing that there is in this. It has to be done, I believe, within 6 months. So I couldn't at any point, if the fingerprinting became available to me before August 2020, it wouldn't matter. I couldn't get fingerprinted and get the background check done because it then would be expired by the time I'm arriving in Korea. So it has to be, when I'm arriving in Korea, it has to be within 6 months of that background check being done. So I have to just wait. Okay, so now let's fast forward to August 2020. I immediately resubmit my application and resume my document gathering, because basically I resubmit my application, they look everything over again and email me saying, okay, it's all still good. You don't have to re-interview, just go back to getting your documents. So all the other documents that I've already gathered can be still used, because if they are time sensitive, it's not within a 6-month time period. It's a little bit longer than that. So everything else is fine. Just need to get those fingerprints. But also there are some changes now. There are some extra things that you're going to need, because of COVID. So now you're also going to need to make sure that you submit a negative COVID test before your flight. I believe it was 72 hours before your flight at that point. And you're going to need to do a mandatory 14-day quarantine upon arrival in Korea. So that's like, okay, I'm in the process. I'm committed to this. I'm going to do those things also. So, it's time for fingerprinting. I check. Can I get fingerprinted? Is fingerprinting open? Can I do this? Wow, it's open again. Great. I call up the people. Do you provide fingerprinting? And they're like, yes, we do. Come right in. Okay, great. So, where I am going for this fingerprinting, there are not very many options around that would make any sort of sense and that were available to me and everything. So my fingerprinting location in this situation is the police station. So I go to the police station, walk up to the people. Hi, could I get fingerprinted? Oh, I'm sorry, but there's no one here right now. I mean, there's the man that I was speaking to, but I guess he's not one that can do fingerprinting. So he's like, there's no one available right now because they're at lunch. So you're going to have to come back later. Okay, sure. So I would need to come back later. Now, there was also possibly another location that I could get fingerprinted. So it's like, why don't we just check there also? Just see. The other place is a prison. So I go to the prison. I've never been into a prison before, and it was very scary. Like, there was just a million signs everywhere that were saying, like, do not enter, do not open this door, like, not for you. And there's like no one, and like this whole big wide open space with all those like windy, like stand in line things. And I'm just sort of talking, or I'm just sort of looking around because every single door looks like I shouldn't be going into it. So I'm kind of looking around very confused, and then I just hear this voice from the gods, or an intercom that was next to me, that's saying like, hi, like, can I help you or something? And so I just start speaking sort of to the sky. Do you offer fingerprinting? It was really a weird experience, but the lady that was talking to me from the heavens was basically like, oh, go talk to that man that just walked through that other door when you were walking in. And it was like a police officer. And so I was like, okay, thank you. And so then I go and I'm now speaking like through a window to a police officer man that's in another locked away space, and asking him if he does fingerprinting. And he's like, no, we don't actually do that here, even though it totally said that they do that on their website. But he's like, they don't do that, but I'm going to give you a phone number and you should call them. They can do fingerprinting for you. Okay. So I get the card with the number on it, and I call it, and it was really, really weird. I don't actually remember anymore because it's so long ago, but basically it sounded like a scam. Like, it was so weird. All I remember is that I called the number and it was like an automated thing that I was listening to, and I ended up just hanging up because I was like, I don't know what that was, but it was really weird. So eventually just have to wait, go back to the police station later. Go back to the police station. Hey, can I get fingerprinting? And so the man is like, okay, yes, like there is someone here, let me get them. So he goes like back, like how there's like places with like front counter and then like there's like a back room sort of vibe. So he goes back wherever and is clearly telling them, there's someone here to get fingerprinted. And the awkward thing is that I can hear all of these people. And that wouldn't be awkward if it weren't for how unbelievably inappropriate and immature and rude these people were being. Well, so I couldn't hear the people really. I could hear one man because he was yelling. Basically, the dude at the counter goes back and says, hey, there's someone here to get fingerprinted. And all the rest of the people back there were like chilling or something. Like chilling in the break room or something, because he says that and they're all apparently start grumbling like, oh, I don't want to do it. And so then there's this one man that's like goes off and is yelling at them and swearing at them and saying it'll take 2 seconds. It's just a quick fingerprinting. Like, you guys have got to be kidding me. And then basically just says, I'll do it. So I don't know what the deal was with that, but he's basically like continuing his yelling and saying of like, I'll do it, right until he's up to the door that then swings open. Like he opens the door and is like, you could come right back this way. Like, oh my God, what the heck? So he was very nice. But he was very angry with his, I don't know if they were his subordinates or if they were his co-workers, his peers, I don't know. But he thankfully was very pleasant to me. But that was, that was a day. And I get my fingerprints done. Wow. Thank God. Now, that was my biggest hurdle. No fingerprints. But I did it. I've done it. Wow. And trying to remember at this point, there have been multiple other things that I have like prepared and then mailed off and had mailed back to me, because like it had to get an apostle on it. So you got to like mail it away, or like receive something in the mail and then mail it off to some other place and stuff like that. And the fingerprinting was free, but these other things, they've got little costs here and there. It's like, oh, $10 to get this done, and like, $15 to request these, and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay. So I get the fingerprinting done and I send it off for the background check, and I eventually get the background check back. We can check that off our list. It's done. Good. The last thing that we need before we send our documents off to Korea is a notarized copy of our passport. So on the same day that I was getting my fingerprinting done, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I go to a place that says that they will notarize a copy of my passport. Because it's like, where do you go to do that? It's like, you got to find these things. You got to do research on every single one of these little things. You have to research, how do I get this done? Where do I go to do this? What times can I do this? What do I need in order to do this? It's an extremely complex process. That's why I'm saying this is not a how-to video or anything that's helpful informational, because I'm not going through the process of how I actually figured out any of these things, because it's very complicated. But just, if you were not realizing how complex it is, just try and take my word for it. So I go to a place that says that they will notarize a copy of my passport. I'm walking in and they're like not following the COVID restrictions that I am, aware are what we're all supposed to be doing at this point in time, this scary point in time, early COVID, like there's like a man walking out that's like not got his mask on properly, and they're like, not 6 feet apart. And I'm like, what's going on here? Social distancing, please. But basically there's a lady and she's all like, yeah, sure, I can notarize that for you. So long story short, I walk out of that experience, that interaction, just too shocked to even do anything because of, the whole COVID situation. And then also her complete incompetence, that I just, yes, I could have told her some way to correct it maybe, but I was just too shocked. So basically this didn't work out. Why did it not work out? Because you'd think when someone is looking at your actual physical passport and also looking at a piece of paper that is an exact photocopy of your passport, so therefore they have your, exact name right in front of them in 2 different places, you'd think that they would get your name right. But she clearly had no clue what she was doing, because she literally she didn't get my name right. She wrote on my like piece of paper that's it's supposed to be writing like that they're verifying that it is a true copy of your passport, and then they sign. And because they are like they're like a government established person that like is credible to do this, it's like their signature and them saying that it's real is like, okay, so we believe that it's real because you got someone that says things are real to say that it's real, you know. That's all that it is. And so she included my name in her like statement, and it was incorrect. And I'm like, I can't use this. And also I was just so shocked that how do you mess up someone's name when you're looking right at their name? So yeah, then I just was like, okay, whatever. I'm so flabbergasted by that, and I'm leaving. And great, now another thing that is wrong, and I have to figure out some way to fix it and something else to do. Let's flash forward a little bit to basically it was like, okay, the only other place that there is for me to possibly get something notarized is UPS. And I'm going to have to go to UPS to have them mail my documents anyway. So I just waited until I had everything. Therefore, like, until I received my background check back, and was ready to mail everything off, then I would just get it notarized by someone else. So we have to flash forward to, okay, now I have all of my documents and I'm ready to mail them all off. They just notarize this real quick, and then I put it in the pile with everything else and we mail it away. Perfect. So this is a different day. I go to UPS. I say, can someone notarize this? That lady, wow, oh my God, she should get an award for best notary. She knows what she's doing. She literally takes my passport, looks at them, is like, okay, yeah, this is good, writes the stuff on it that's like, yeah, it's real, and signs it or whatever. Beautiful. She knows what she's doing. She literally is competent. She's the opposite. She is competent. So I get it notarized. Good. Okay. Now we can mail my documents. Oh, wait. Actually, I forgot. Sorry. I go to have them I say, is there someone that can notarize this? And they say, oh, our notary is not here today. So you're going to have to come back a different day. She's literally just not in on these days. Like, she won't be here today. Okay, when will she be here? Well, she'll be here tomorrow. I think they said like from 7 a.m. to noon or something. So I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So then I go back the next day and she's totally competent, and I get my documents mailed. Whew. Finally, I got all my documents in, guys, right? Woo! Yay, yay, yay! So, you know, first big thing was get everything prepared for your application and get your application submitted. And I got through that. And then it's like, okay, application was submitted. And the next process is get all of your documents ready to be mailed. Okay, yeah, we did that too. Now the next thing is we have to wait for the EPIK people. So basically each applicant is paired with an EPIK coordinator. So you have like one person that you're sort of like in email correspondence with that is telling you about your process. So I have to wait for my EPIK coordinator to tell me that they have received my documents and that everything is good with them, and then they will mail me a sample contract that I need to submit a visa application. Please keep up, okay? It's not that complicated. So, I wait, I get an email. We've received your documents, but unfortunately, there's some bad news. What do you guys think the bad news is? Maybe one of the documents is like not right or something. Like, oh, like you missed something. You think after all of this, you think after all of what I've been through, I would miss a document? You think that after all I've been through, I wouldn't have everything absolutely perfect, the exact way that it needs to be? I am an INTJ, folks, okay? I am not getting anything wrong here. So, there is some bad news. We received your documents, but they seem to be completely soaked through with water. We'll need to replace some of them. So, I paid UPS like $100 to get these documents mailed. And you're telling me that they arrive at their location waterlogged, completely soaked through. Who has even heard of that? So, they're like, and me reading this, I'm like, of course they are. Of course they are. Because this is what happens to me. If you have been on the channel for a while, if you have heard my stories, you're like, of course that's the case. Because that's what happens to Devin. That's what happens to her. So yeah, they were completely soaked, and they're like, we're going to need to replace some things. Now, thankfully, it's like they slap me in the face, but then they drag me along. That's what happens. So they slap me in the face, but they just manage to just say, no, just drag you along. Like, keep going. Just, you have like a thread that is dragging you, okay? Because everything that needed to be replaced, I still had a PDF of, or a scan of, that they said, okay, we will accept that as a replacement. You don't need to remail anything to us. Now, they did try to tell me that my letter of recommendation, the one that, had given us a little bit of problems before, had no date on it. And I'm like, here's a PDF or a scan or something of the letter of recommendation that I sent you, with the date circled in red, so I'm hoping you just didn't notice it, but yeah. And then they're like, well, we seem to not have that page in our originals pile, so it must not have been salvageable, so we're gonna need another one of those. But it's not the page with the ink signature, so I guess it's okay if you just send us like a PDF of it or something and we'll print it off. And I'm like, you better print it off, because yeah, it's not the page with the ink signature. And I'm a little concerned that you saw in your pile of, because they have copies of all the documents as well. They have an originals pile and they have a copies pile. So they're saying, oh, that page wasn't in our originals. So that means that maybe the page was in their copies, but they're clearly not looking at their pile of copies right now, because if they were looking at their pile of copies and looking at that page, they would see that there's a date on it, right? So they're only looking at their originals pile. And so you're telling me that in your originals pile, you see page 2 of a letter of recommendation, and the problem that you're saying is that there is no date on it, not the fact that it's only a second page and there's no start to this letter? There's no letterhead at the top of this? Like, why were they not more concerned that they were missing a whole page than saying, oh, there's no date on this second page that I'm looking at with no other page? Look. But anyway, thankfully, I just had to, find pictures that I took a picture of everything before I sent it. Please, if you are listening and you are going through the process, scan everything before you send it. Take a picture of everything before you send it. Keep any PDFs of anything that you can, just in case. So yeah, I had enough like ways to send them digital versions of the things that they are missing. So, let's move on. So now, also, I will remember everyone at this point that this is not even me sending these documents to them because I have a job with them. This is me sending documents to them so that they can send the documents to schools in Korea, and one of those schools will hopefully hire me. So I don't even have a job yet, and this is what I've gone through. Just saying. So you wait some more time because they're like, okay, now we're going to send out your application. We're going to send your application out to schools now. You know, we have everything. Good. I don't know how soggy and wet and crumpled all of my nice documents look at this point, but I hope that that's not going to be affecting people's opinions on whether they want to hire me or not. Like, they have a whole nice pristine stack of papers and applications, and then they have the like wrinkled, like wet and then dried mess. Oh my God, I can't even. But anyway, so, you know, you have to wait some time for them to possibly get back to you saying that, you know, you got accepted by a school. And so I get an email. That was celebration noises because your application got accepted by a school. So this is fantastic. You have a job, you know, you're going to Korea. But wait, no, this is a special circumstance. It's actually an English center that is wanting you. Like your, I don't remember how they phrase it, but you know, like the possible place that, like the place that your application was sent to, that they then accepted it and they were like, okay, we would like to hire this person. It was an English center, not an English school. So that, I will say, is something that we will get back to later. Just trust me. That's all the information that I had at the time. That's all the information that you guys should have at the time in this story. So we will get back to that later. Basically, I have to just tell the EPIK coordinator, okay, yes, I accept the position. I would like you to send me a sample contract, and I would like to apply for my visa, and I'd like to, you know, go there and do that. So that's what I do. And they say, okay, in a little bit of time, the contract, sample contract, this is not, you have to actually sign the contract in person once you're in Korea at your workplace. They will present you with the contract and you sign it then. But for the process of applying for your visa, they send you a sample one and you sign it, and it's just used as like a placeholder. So I have to wait, and then in a bit of time, they will email me saying that they are sending out the contracts to all of the applicants or all of the accepted people, and then you will use that for your visa application. So we're getting closer and closer to February 2021 at this point. You know, it's getting to be like winter, I believe, like November, December. I don't know. It gets pretty close by the time they start sending you the actual contract document. So finally, I received my contract in the mail. Great. I received my contract in the mail, check it over, because I have to sign multiple pages. Check it over, and, well, it doesn't take much checking over, because on the very first paragraph of the first page, where there's a blank space where they handwrite in the name of the, you know, potential employee, aka me, my name is misspelled. It's missing a letter. So, email up my coordinator again. Yes, I'm sorry, but I've received my contract in the mail, and my name is missing a letter. It is not correct. And so they say, okay, well, we're going to have to send you a new one. And, you know, we'll expedite it, but, you know, we're going to have to send you a new one. Okay, so now I will wait again for them to send me a new one before I can apply for my visa. More time passes. I get the new one. Okay? I got my contract. My name is correct. Yay! So I can send it in with whatever other documents I needed. I think it was just like an application to apply for my visa. And wait some time. Then I get an email. We've received your visa application and we have scheduled an appointment/interview with you at this time. You should be expecting a phone call because of COVID. This is all done over the phone. You don't go into an immigration office to get a visa. You do it over the phone and over the internet because everything is shut down from COVID. So, okay, I've got my interview time. Perfect. So now we're going to start talking about some dates and some times. I've got a phone interview on January 19th, 2021. Now remember, I'm leaving in about a month, a little less than a month. I'm leaving early February 2021. They had to push your arrival date for everyone 2 weeks earlier than they normally would have because of the 2-week quarantine. So we're now supposed to be arriving in Korea February 7th, 2021. So, okay. But anyway, my interview is for January 19th, 2021. And actually, so my plane was, like my flight was on February 6th, not the 7th. You have to arrive on the 7th. Okay. I wait all day on the 19th. I get no phone call. I wait all day on the 20th. I get no phone call. So I email them on the 20th and say, you know, I'm really sorry, but like, am I still expecting a call? Because I haven't gotten one yet. And they're like, oh, sorry about that. We'll tell the person again and they'll call you on the 22nd. So not the next day, which would be the 21st, but a day after that, the 22nd. So what should have taken one day, the 19th, is now taken 4 days. So finally on the 22nd, I received my phone call and it's just so short and simple. They're basically just confirming your identity and your reason for the application and everything. So I'm like, okay, thank you. I got that done. Can we stop having things go wrong, please? Can we stop having things be drawn out, please? Thankfully, the visa is digitally issued, not issued by mail because of COVID. So I've got my visa. Cool. Great. Now all I need, because I've already got my plane ticket, all I need now is to get COVID tested 72 hours before my flight. So, you know, I'm trying to look around and see like who's going to offer me a COVID test that has that turnaround and is available for me and everything. Now, the thing is, you got to remember, this is still kind of early COVID. I know it doesn't seem like it is because it's almost a year now into COVID, but it still is kind of early COVID. Because, you know, you can tell just by the fact that it's saying 72 hours before a flight, you're going to want a negative result. 72 hours. Like, come on, guys. That's not how they do it anymore. And the difficult thing about this is that I can't really concretely figure this out and get it done early because, you know, it needs to be 72 hours before my flight. So I have to kind of like, I'm trying to figure out like where it will be possible, but until I actually like need to go and get it done, I won't really know, you know? And the problem is that none of the places that offer COVID testing, which is like, there was like a couple of COVID test sites that were set up, and then there were like like pharmacies that would offer them through an appointment and things like that. None of them would offer them for travel, which is why I needed it. None of them would offer them within that short time frame, like a travel time frame turnaround. None of them would offer them to someone that doesn't have any symptoms, or that wasn't just exposed to someone who tested positive, or to someone that was just younger and not in a high risk category. So like there were places that offered COVID tests, but it would take a long time, or you had to have symptoms, or you had to have just been around someone that tested positive, or you had to be elderly, or you had to be high risk. I was none of those things. I just needed it within 72 hours for travel, and I could not find anyone to do that for me for the life of me. So, finally, I find a way to get a home test mail ordered to me. Now, mind you, we're in a very, tight time frame here, and this is involving mailing, so it's very scary. And mailing kits and home testing kits, like this was the first home testing kit of its kind, probably, or one of the very first. You couldn't just go to the store and buy one, So, and it wasn't a rapid one. Like nowadays, the home test kits, you like wait 15 minutes and then No, it was mailed to me. I do the test and then I send it to a lab and they email me my results. So I get a kit. Remember, my flight is on the 6th of February. So I get one of these kits. It ships on February 2nd. With an expedited shipping. On February 3rd, I'm seeing the tracking. I'm watching the tracking all day. I'm waiting with bated breath. Please just give me my test kit, okay? I'm running out of time. So, on the 3rd, I'm watching the tracking. And also I'm just, like I said, waiting with bated breath. Like, when's it going to get here? When's it going to get here? When's it going to get here? I wait and wait and wait. It's being delivered by FedEx. And a FedEx truck drives past my house. And that package never gets delivered to me on the 3rd. It does get delivered to me on the 4th. The box was just absolutely crushed, destroyed. I don't know what happened. But I watched the tracking. It should have been delivered on the 3rd. I saw the FedEx truck drive past my house and not deliver it to me, and I cried. And then it got to me on the 4th after looking as if it had been through the war. But, okay, whatever. There's nothing I can do except for hope and pray, right? So I do the test. We send it back out immediately on the 4th. Put it right back in the FedEx drop box. The lab receives it on the 5th. Okay, the lab receives it on the 5th. My flight is scheduled for 7 a.m. on February 6th. I just need to get my results back before that, right? So, flight scheduled 7 a.m. the 6th. I received my test results by email on February 6th at